In Pit Lane, brought to you by Online Invent, and with thanks to our Platinum Star Patreon supporters. Yes, hello everybody and welcome to another edition of In Pit Lane, coming to you right across Melbourne on Channel 31, and of course you're watching on demand on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. Coming up a little bit later on in the program, our special guest tonight is going to join us from the Victorian Hillclimb Championship. You can see a few of the pictures behind us that would have been provided by the championship. They've got a round coming up at the famous Rob Roy track coming up in a couple of weeks' time. So make sure we'll find out about that and make sure you can stay tuned for that. Also coming up, our music guest tonight, good friend of the program, Michael Meeking, is going to join us again. We've had Michael on a couple of times over the past. He's a good, as I said, good friend of the program. He's coming in to play a couple of songs for us. Special bonus for our online people, and of course to take us out here on Channel 31. Speaking of good friends of the program, I suppose he's a good friend of the program. Nobody else will have him. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Craig Doc Gladigo.
Thanks, Brett. No one does have me, but thank God for the In Pit Lane family. Hey, was the May the 4th be with you last week pretty well? Because it was certainly a particular Formula One driver that was kind to.
I don't know. That's a Star Wars reference, is it?
I think it is.
Yes. I love sci-fi.
A bit of a Lando. Bit of a Lando, because he's a character in Star Wars. So.
Oh, is he? Oh, yeah. See, no, even I get that one. Now, there you go. Okay. There you go. Well, speaking of Lando, we're going to be talking about him in just a moment. In fact, let's do that right now. Let's find out what's been happening around Australia and indeed around the world. This is the In Pit Lane Motorsport News. And now it's time for everybody's favourite game show, Jeopardy. This is the one where I give you the answer and your job is to tell me the question. Ready? Let's play Jeopardy. Question 1, Formula 4. Question 1, Formula 4. Yes, your time is up, and I'm sorry you've got that one wrong. The question is, what is the answer to a question that nobody's asking? Better luck next time. Yes, after the dismal and expensive failure of Formula 4 in Australia last time around, the class has returned, with 12 cars facing the start last weekend at the Bend in South Australia. The weekend was dominated by local driver Jimmy Pizik, who returns to local racing after a period of racing in England. The series is being run by the Chinese-based Top Speed organisation that also runs the UAE and Southeast Asian Formula Ford series. Formula 4 last ran in Australia in 2019, running at a loss of around $3 million to Motorsport Australia. The new series will be run over 5 rounds, with the final round to be held in the little-known Australian outback town of Sepang, Malaysia. Meanwhile, in related news, Melbourne has a brand new Ferris wheel.
It does. Medical experts right across Great Britain are on high alert. It's an epidemic to deal with the sudden onset of Lando Norris fever. The young Englishman finally broke through to take his maiden F1 GP win in the Miami Grand Prix last weekend. McLaren took advantage of a safety car period after Logan Sargent crashed out of the race to leapfrog Norris into the lead. From there, the 24-year-old withstood the pressure of red-hot favourite Max Verstappen to take his first win after 110 Grand Prix starts. Ferrari driver Charles Leclerc was third, while Norris's teammate Oscar Piastri finished 13th after contact with Carlos Sainz. Daniel Ricciardo finished 15th after his fine 4th place in Saturday's sprint race.
Well, the Japanese Super GT season is now in full swing, with the second round taking place at the famous Fuji circuit. Remarkably, the weather was fine and sunny throughout, and it was a dominant performance by Nissan. And it's at Fuji that we'll kick off this week's In Pit Lane International Wrap. A big weekend for Nissan at the Fuji 300, round 2 of the Japanese Super GT Series. In spite of a maiden pole position for the new Honda Civic GT 500, it was the team of Mitsunori Takaboshi and Atsui Miyake who dominated in the number 3 NDDP Nissan Z. It was a 1-2 for Nissan as the number 23 car of Katsumasa Shio and Ronnie Quintarelli came through for second place. Kudai Tsukakoshi and Kudai no Shinota in the Civic took the final spot on the GT 500 podium. In GT 300, the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 of Takeshi Kugagi and Yuya Motojima led all the way for a comfortable victory. Kyle Larson clinched victory in the Kansas 400 in the tightest finish in NASCAR Cup Series history. Larson secured his second win of the season by just edging out Ford driver Chris Boucher in a nail-biting lunge to the line. After Kyle Busch's spin on lap 261 sent the race into overtime, Boucher took the lead on the restart of the 2-lap shootout, only to have Larson pull even on the back stretch of the final lap. Initially, Boucher was declared the winner, but a video and timing review soon revealed Larson's razor-thin 100th of a second victory. Had Boucher held on, it would have been Ford's first win of the season. Chase Elliott finished third. The race saw 5 caution periods, the first caused after this incident with Corey LaJoie, Daniel Hemrick, Austin Hill and Jimmy Johnson in turn 2. The second one came soon after as Austin Cedric, Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace and Michael McDowell came together on the back stretch. Larson's win sees him continue to lead the series by 29 points over the consistent Martin Truex. The second round of the European Le Mans Series of the 4 hours of La Castellet saw the Inter-Europol competition team Orica take out its first victory. Starting 12th on the grid, the team of Sebastian Alvarez, Ladislav Lomko and Tom Dillman sealed the win after their teammates stopped on the track while leading with 19 minutes remaining when their car got stuck in second gear. The Richard Mill by TDS Racing Orica claimed victory in LMP2 Pro-Am, and in LMGT3 it was the Spirit of Race Ferrari that emerged victorious. The series now takes a break as leading teams prepare for the big one, the greatest race of them all, the 24 Hours of Le Mans on June 15th and 16th.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow is deployed. Full course yellow is deployed.
And if you want to keep up to date with all the latest chat from the world of motorsport, join us live every Wednesday at 8:30 Melbourne time for Full Course Yellow. It's unscripted, uncensored, unpredictable and borderline unwatchable. But it's live and you can be a part of it. Ask your questions, have your say. It's every week on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel and Facebook page. Full Course Yellow, hardcore motorsport chat live every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m.
Very unconventional too. And Cam Waters finished an encouraging 19th place in his return to NASCAR in the Craftsman Truck Series race. But not everyone was happy to see him back. Fellow Ford driver Lane Riggs, who finished 1 position ahead of Waters, confronted the Aussie after the race following contact between the two on the final lap. The confrontation was quickly broken up by officials and crew members. Waters told US reporters that he enjoyed every minute of the race and confirmed his desire to join Shane Van Gisbergen as a full-time NASCAR driver in the future. Could the last driver leaving the supercars please turn off the lights, please?
And we're going to take a break now on In Pit Lane. When we come back, we're going to be joined by a special guest tonight, Warren Heath, to talk all about hill climb racing and the Victorian Hillclimb Championships. Also, music coming up from Michael Meeking. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Get the phone ringing for your business with website development and SEO services from Online Invent. Visit onlineinvent.com.au.
Yes, and once again, thank you so much to our friends at Online Invent who keep the program on the air. We're coming to the end of our series. Actually, we've got 3 shows of this series remaining.
Jeez, it's gone fast.
Hasn't it gone? It's gone very, very Very fast indeed.
As quick as a Formula One car. Max Verstappen. That's how fast.
Very much so. But yes, but we've got 3 shows to go, which means obviously we're looking for sponsors for our next series, which is starting after our sort of our European vacation.
Yeah. Budget's a bit thin this year.
Yeah, budget's very, very thin this year, which is why we're looking for sponsors for our next season. As we've said before, In Pit Lane receives no government funding. It receives no funding from any of the motorsport groups or not. And as we've said before, I mean, if we got on our page, all we get is basically the sponsorship from Online Invent and our friends, our supporters on Patreon as well. And we certainly appreciate that. But as I've said before, if you need a website done, if you want something done professionally, you want it done properly, you want to make sure that it's actually viewed by people and consumed, then talk to Roy and the team at Online Invent. It is a science, getting all of this stuff up and running to the point where people are going to watch it. And it's a full-time job. I mean, and you're running your business. You don't have time to be, a content manager. I mean, it's all right for huge companies. They hire people, at very, very expensive, with very, very expensive wages to basically run all their online content. You may not have that sort of money or that sort of demand, but you can have all of those skills thanks to Roy and the team from Online Invent. So once again, thank you to Online Invent for your support of In Pit Lane, local motorsport, and of course here on Channel 31 and RMI TV. We really do appreciate it. Well, speaking of In Pit Lane, one of our highlights every week is, of course, music. And tonight our musical act is our friend Michael Meeking. He's got a single launch for Little Miss Sydney. In fact, we played Little Miss Sydney a little bit earlier on in the series this year, I think for our first show, actually, and with his special guests, the Glorious North at the Union Hotel, Brunswick, on Saturday the 18th of May at 5 p.m. You can get more details on his website, michaelmeeking.com. He's also on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and Bandcamp.
So we have a new instalment of Michael tonight.
We have a new instalment of Michael, and right now you're going to hear from him with Carry Us Through. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Meeking.
She said, I don't want for much, just to have what we got, and honey, that's gonna carry us through the harsh winter time, through all the cold and starless nights, to a day when the weight subsides and we'll be alright. Carry us through all the tears we'll cry when no hope seems to be inside, when it's so hard to see the light, we'll be alright. And she said, I don't want for much, just to have what we got, and honey, that's gonna carry us through. She said, I don't want for much, just your sweet love and touch, and that's gonna carry us through. Carry us through all our fear and pain, till we can bask in the sunlight again, and we won't ever lose our faith along the way. Along the way. She said, I don't want for much, just to have what we got, and honey, that's gonna carry us through. She said, I don't want for much, just your sweet love and touch, and that's gonna carry us through. Carry us through. Oh yeah. Carry us through. Oh yeah. Carry us through. Oh yeah.
Welcome back to In Pit Lane. Well, our guest tonight is from the Victorian Hillclimb Championship. We've spoken about hillclimbs before. We recently, if you watched the start of our year, we covered the big MG, the revival, the Rob Roy revival meeting up at Rob Roy. And speaking of that very famous piece of track up in the Yarra Glen sort of area, they've got a round of the Victorian Championship coming up in a couple of weeks' time. So to talk about that and hill climbing in general, please welcome from the Victorian Hillclimb Championship, Warren Heath. Warren, welcome to In Pit Lane.
Thanks, guys. This is great.
Now, tell us about hill climbing. I mean, we've spoken about in the past. It's certainly one of the oldest forms of motorsport. And am I right in saying that Rob Roy is actually one of the oldest ongoing tracks in Australia?
Yeah, it is. Yep, lots of history at Rob Roy, and the big brake shoes on the start line are from the old Temple Stay Hill Climb. So yeah, it's a lot of history go with the track.
Now then, it's not a very long. I mean, I was watching some hill climbs. If you watch like on YouTube, hill climb monsters, and all that, I'm absolutely amazed. But those European hill climbs go for miles and miles and miles.
Yep.
These aren't quite as far. I mean, how far is Rob Roy? It's a pretty.
Look, the quick cars do it in sort of around the 20-second mark. I think the record for the long track is actually under 20 seconds. So. Yeah, it's a pretty short hill climb.
Well, hang on, that.
Twisting,
when we did it that day, I did a track walk. I was the only one that did it that day, and I fully regretted it by the end of the day. The hamstrings were more than tight. But no, it's got its twists and turns and idiosyncrasies, hasn't it, as well though too.
And yeah, they've had some recent track upgrades, and there's a couple of different track configurations now. There's a chicane in there after turn 2. So yeah, that's added a little bit more track.
Now, are you using the chicane for the next round?
Not for this event. We used it at the first round.
That's good.
Yeah, so they've dropped the chicane, so we're on the old traditional track. So yeah,
it's great fun. And as I said before, I mean, the thing about hill climb is that I mean, it sounds like it's contraindicated that it's a relaxing day when you're talking about cars going up at ridiculous speeds and risking life and limb. But at the same time, it is the sort of thing where you can go out with the family, you can take a picnic lunch, you can take something to, you can sit there and you can just basically have a really nice day, wander around the paddocks. It is very much an old-fashioned family sport, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, the hill climbing community they're a great bunch of people. It's just a really good bunch of friendly, helpful people, and you're always made feel pretty welcome at an event, whether you're a competitor or a spectator. So it is a really good community.
I'm going to broaden the horizons a little bit though, Warren. You've been around many, many years. I'd like to get onto your car in a minute. It's a nice little Ford Laser there. We'll touch on in a sec. But you haven't just been into some of the hill climbs in Victoria. I've seen you up in Queensland and different states around there. What's the appeal? I mean, around Australia, is there a few tracks? Is it growing?
Yeah, look, it's been pretty good. There's tracks everywhere in Australia. Like Mount Cotton was the one that I attended in Queensland 2 years ago for the Australian Hillclimb Championships. There's another hillclimb track up there as well. I think it's the Noosa Hillclimb. Then New South Wales have a pretty big series as well. So last year was at Ringwood Park, the Australian Hillclimb Championships, which I went up to as well. So, but they've got a number of tracks up there.
And they even run at Bathurst, don't they?
They do, yeah. There's 2 Bathurst configurations, so they run up there as well. So I think the S's and then the Mountain Straight Hill Climb. So yeah, it's a little bit different. They run backwards at Bathurst, so up through Forest Elbow and finish at the top. So it's got.
That's a good marketing thing. Run backwards at Bathurst.
It's pretty hard to do as well, though. Too, it wouldn't be easy. So a little bit about the cars that you guys all run. You have it laser specifically. You've run it for a fair few years now. I'm sure you got it refined, that sort of stuff. What makes a good hill climb car?
Something that's light and changes direction quick. Horsepower plays a part in some of the tracks, but not in others, so it sort of evens up the field a bit. Some cars that are competitive at tighter tracks, some of the lighter cars are competitive at tighter tracks, whereas some of the bigger horsepower cars are competitive at the longer, steeper hill climbs, so it sort of evens up the field a bit over the series. So.
The interesting thing is, I mean, it's also the last bastion of sort of the Australian special, because, I mean, there are these they're literally hill climb specials, and they're not sort of that, they're not locked down like a Formula 4 or an S5000 or even, a GT3 or something. It really is something that people have just gone, I've got that engine and I've got those wheels and I've got that, and if I put them all together, So, I mean, what are some of the more unusual cars you've seen over the years?
Oh,
there?
look, there's been a lot of purpose-built hill climb cars. Like I remember back when I was young and Dad was in the hill climbing fraternity. Like there was a twin-engine car, I think, that used to run. They used to start one engine and then push start the other engine. Like that was
Well,
a
there's been a few of that. We saw one at the Revival. We saw with the two V8s, and Paul England, very famous. That was the two twin-engine Volkswagen, supercharged Volkswagen, all-wheel drive. And this is in the early 70s. So
does an all-wheel drive car have an advantage over a two-wheel drive car or a double engine? I mean, what you said you lose some manoeuvrability, wouldn't you?
Certain tracks they're more competitive. So once again, it falls down to what sort of track you're on. Right. Obviously, with an all-wheel drive car, you carry a little bit more weight as well, but you have that added advantage of more traction off the line and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
Well, what would be the advantage over, say, you've got the normal laser? I think it's what's a KO or KH or something like that.
KB laser, yep.
Yeah.
What would
God's own sports car.
I'm just going to use this as a rhetoric.
Yep.
TX3 all-wheel drive, would that have an advantage, or yours, or what would be?
Well, interestingly enough, there was a TX3 ran up at the Ringwood Park Hill Climb last year, a pretty competitive car, and it was quite quick.
An all-wheel drive.
Yeah, all-wheel drive. Yep, one of the turbo TX3 four-wheel drive lasers.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
So what I sort of always said is I'm really surprised that more people don't take advantage of hill climbing. A lot of circuit races, people who have just got cars locked away in the garage. They go, I just don't have the money, I don't have the time to go out and do the state series or anything there. This is a great opportunity if you want to get your car out and you want to do a bit of test and tune and that sort of thing. It's far more affordable, isn't it? I mean, compared with something like the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championship, what sort of money are you looking for to enter a round of the State Series hill climb?
State Series hill climb round normally around the $100, $130 mark, just depending on whether it's a 1 or 2 day event. But you've got the added advantage that you're not chewing through tyres and brake pads and all that sort of stuff like you are at a circuit event. So it is substantially cheaper.
You don't have other people running into you either.
No.
Hopefully,
not
anyway.
Generally not, no.
Worst case scenario is a clutches, and that's about it, wouldn't it? I think.
Well, one thing that is coming up later on in the year is the Australian Hillclimb Championship. You mentioned it before, but that's coming to Victoria later in the year as well, I believe.
Yep, Gippsland Car Club.
Yep, at the Gippsland Car Club. So we'll find out a bit more about that when we come back after the break. But for now, stay with us and we'll find out more about the wonderful world of hill climbing a little bit later on after the break here on In Pit Lane. You're watching In Pit Lane on Channel 31 right across Melbourne and Geelong. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Get the phone ringing for your business with website development and SEO services from Online Invent. Visit onlineinvent.com.au.
Yes, now as I said before, joining us next week will be Sunil Vora from Motorsport Australia, the CEO of Motorsport Australia. Incidentally, if you have any questions that you would like to fire off at Sunil, we can't ask all of them, of course. Make sure they're sensible questions. There was some stuff recently I saw. My God, look, people.
Outlandish?
There are some really, really stupid people out there.
There are some really outlandish keyboard warriors that got they're busy wasting.
One of them was, why doesn't he sack Mark Scaife? Why doesn't he get rid of Neil? And it's like, what has this got to do with Motorsport Australia? But anyway.
Oh, well, I'm just going to throw this one out there. Stop getting busy wasting your own time. That's just the way it looks like sometimes. You've got nothing better to do.
If you're a competitor, if you're a marshal, a flaggy, or a fiery, or any of the stewards involved in motorsport, or if you're like a hardcore motorsport fan and you have a question for
a legitimate
question, a sensible question, let us know and we'll try and weave them. But we've got plenty of our own, haven't we?
We've got a lot in our back pocket that people are giving us quite regularly. So
I will also let you know that next week our music guest on the program. Many years ago, back in the old studio, we had a band called Gen 2 on, a hard rock heavy metal band. They have now become one of the most popular hard rock bands in Australia. Their current single has had over 100,000.
It'll be Gen 10 by now, I reckon.
On Spotify, they're absolutely huge, and they are going to join us. And that was another case in point. Tony just got in touch, Anthony just got in touch and said, hey, we're back in Melbourne and we'd be happy to come on the show again. And it's like, yes, Thank you. We'll do that.
Yep, get in early and we'll
Yeah.
book you in. We'll
So,
find room.
so if you like your music loud and loud, hard, and heavy, then be watching next week on the program.
Get your earplugs ready.
Well, we'll have to get the earplugs in because
I'm going to go. Might be the earmuffs next week. Have to go all the way with the earmuffs, I reckon.
There. I don't know because I'm as deaf as a post already. So years of drag racing and heavy metal has taken its toll. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Okay. But yes. But that's coming up next week on the program. So Pete, when are we? Whenever they're ready into the control room, we will jump into the third segment if we could. And in breaking news, heads and shoulders, feet and toes. Now, coming up, we'll go back to our guest tonight. He is Warren Heath, and we mentioned the Australian Hillclimb Championship. It sort of goes around the place, and this time around it is at Bryant Park, which is in Yallourn, or just outside of Yallourn.
Maui, yep.
Tell us about that and what we're seeing there. What's the planning there?
Yep, so Gippsland Car Club are running the Australian Hillclimb Championships in Victoria this year. It's our turn to host it. Figure 8 track configuration. Those that know Maui know it's a multiple configuration.
Great venue,
track. It
fabulous.
is a great venue.
Had some upgrades the last couple of years, hasn't it?
Has, yep.
Yes.
A few more facilities and spectator points, and yeah, it's
That
been,
is
been
a really,
really
you can
good.
sit out, there's a big sort of balcony, and you can sit out there and have a
glass of orange juice and cheese and
glass
Vicky.
of orange juice, yes. And cheese and Vicky, yes.
With some added water.
Great. So I imagine people coming from all over Australia. So anything special being planned? I mean, in terms of what's happening there already?
It's early stages of planning, but there'll obviously be some competitors from interstate that will travel down and run the event just as the same as I travelled up there. So, yeah, it starts on the 24th of October. There'll be some unofficial practice and then 2 days of competition. So,
I'm glad you brought that up. You just touched on the subject as well. Interstate rivalry in the hill climbing competitions is very, very fierce. Did I see something a little bit about the South Australians and the Victorians have got a little bit of antsy-pantsy about it as well, though, too?
A little bit of that stuff that's been
Gets a
going
bit
on.
heated, doesn't it?
A little bit, yep.
Is it worse between South Australia or is it more between New South Wales and Victoria? Where's
it's probably South Australia and Victoria. It's been pretty heated at times.
the battle of the border over there?
Yeah, there's been a few travel over to South Australia to a couple of the South Australian rounds and vice versa. So,
Well, I think when we did a hill climb at Bryant Park, we spoke to a couple of South Australian competitors who came over, and I think in fact the fastest time of the day was a South Australian competitor in an open wheeler.
Yep.
So they're obviously very very up with it. Any chance that we might see some live streaming of it for people around Australia?
we're hoping that that's the case. That would be great.
We'll talk. We'll talk.
Yeah,
We need to talk.
Yeah, your people don't talk to his
We'll
people,
talk. Our people will talk to your people,
and we'll might sort some people out.
That'll stuff everybody up. So let's go. Coming up now, it's not this weekend. The weekend after at Rob Roy. What are the details?
Yep. So on the 19th, which is the Sunday, so Rob Roy in Clinton's Road in Smith Scully.
Yep.
Scully. So yeah. So it'll kick off probably around the 9:30, 10 o'clock mark. Spectators are welcome. So it'll be a good day. They're normally a pretty big field of cars, so just a great day out.
Well, good luck with that for the rest of the season, and good luck with the Australian Championships as well. As I said, it's a really fun day out, and you see so many different cars, so many different. We've seen some of them in the background here. I mean, okay, we've got it's a Commodore now.
On cue.
Yeah, on cue. We've seen some really wild-looking open wheelers and sports cars, all sorts of things that we see out there. I know a few of our friends in Formula SAE have even taken cars up there in the past. Peter Stollart's turbocharged Mini. There's a fast car as well. So there you go.
Brilliantly quick.
So good luck with it. And but for now, Warren, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane.
Thanks, guys. It's been great.
And thank you to you for joining us at home. Now, as we said, next week on the program, we'll be joined by the new CEO of Motorsport Australia. He is Sunil Vora. And also, our band next week will be Gen 2. But our band tonight is a one-man band. He's Michael Meeking, and you can follow him on his website, michaelmeeking.com, and on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Bandcamp. But to take us out, this is Michael Meeking with Back on You. Good night.
Well, you're lying and you're cheating and you say you didn't mean it, but you can't even tell me the truth. You've been so deceiving about the life that you've been leading. So many things that I never knew. So sordid and leaning, I can't believe didn't see it. You tried to keep it all out of view. Now I know that you are gleaming. I don't need to be a reeling. I'm gonna tell you that we're through. Well, don't think of it as nothing, 'cause there's a storm of thunder that's gonna rain down on you. Don't even bother running, 'cause a comma, it's a coming, and there's nothing that you can do. Oh, it's true. You can't give me one good reason. What more were you needing? That I wasn't enough for you. Well, you cut me and I'm bleeding, but honey, just believe it, it won't be your last wound. Well, don't think of it as nothing, 'cause there's a storm of thunder that's gonna rain down on you. Don't even bother running, 'cause a comma, it's coming. There's nothing that you can do. Oh, it's true. It's gonna come back on you. Oh, well, it's true. It's gonna come back on you. So when you're feeling lonely, please just try to call me, 'cause never will be too soon. And when you're feeling lonely, please, you gotta know this, I'd much rather be alone than with you. Well, don't think of it as nothing, 'cause there's a storm of thunder and it's gonna rain down on you. Don't even bother running, 'cause a comma, it's coming, and there's nothing that you can do. Oh, well, it's true. It's gonna come back on you. Oh, well, it's true. It's gonna come back on you. Oh, yeah, it's true. It's gonna come back on you. It's gonna come back on you.